It had been a long, cold January in the Powder Keg. The way other Americans might drink Slim Fast shakes as meal replacements, the men in Powder Keg drank melted Velveeta. They needed the energy because they were blowing snow twice a day. There really wasn't that much snow. It was far too cold for snow. They did it to avoid their wives. The habit-all wives and mothers in the Powder Keg were overburdened with children who weren't going outside for recess because it was too cold and were instead kicking footballs in the house and breaking their mother's framed photographs of her college days. Mothers don't like this. It makes them crazy. But the men of Powder Keg didn't know this was why their wives had gone crazy. They were too busy snowblowing the bare asphalt of their sidewalks to ask. Jessica Henderson was one of those crazy Powder Keg women. Now Jessica did pretty well for the first part of the cold snap because she went to yoga. Yoga prevents the Powder Keg moms with school-aged children from going crazy all year round. Because after 10 a.m. yoga at the community center, they drink lattes across the street with their yoga friends until 3:45. This really cuts the edge off of life. But something had happened to Jessica at yoga last week. The class had been doing child pose right after warrior pose, and then child pose, and then warrior pose, and then child pose, and then warrior pose, and after a few times of that, Jessica started to sob. And a couple of the coffee crew had noticed, which was okay, because Jessica knew she could joke about it later. But there was one woman who saw her sobbing named Barb, and Jessica did not trust Barb. Barb was far too physically fit to be trusted. This fit Barb had actually reached over and rubbed Jessica's back a little while she was sobbing, while Barb was doing a modified child pose, which if you don't know, is child pose, but only on your elbow. And after that happened, Jessica ran out of yoga, skipped coffee, and had not gone back to either. That was a week ago. Jessica's husband, Tyler, began cramming bricks of Velveeta into his mouth shortly after that.
Some people sing it to express while others hear
I think that was Michael W. Smith. Yes! When Jessica wasn't too coiled with rage or crippled with embarrassment, she began to spend her days obsessively searching the internet for dogs to rescue. Out of all the things she did that were dumb, this one made her want to punch herself in the face the most. I'm thinking of rescuing a dog. She thought, I don't even like dogs. And one morning she was staring at the face of a slobbery Rottweiler mix that had such gut problems its foster parents had dubbed it Stinky, and she realized that what she liked was the idea of a dog. She liked the idea of a warm body leaning on her in the cold evenings when Tyler was out snow blowing. And she liked the idea of taking good care of a warm body, even as she knew the sound of a dog's claws click, click, clicking on the hardwood floors would make her want to cut its feet off. This was really confusing to her, this desire to take care of something, because she wasn't the kind of woman who rejoiced at having children. Unlike her friend Lisa, who had had children essentially so that she could reconcile her life with the scrapbook of nursery designs she had kept since the 8th grade. Jessica loved her children, but they hadn't been waited for. They had just happened. And then they happened to kindergarten, and then they happened to break her stuff. Maybe I just need something to do, Jessica thought. Certainly there were better things to do than dogs, though. I can garden, she thought, but I can't garden in February. I'd like to go back to college because it was really fun to be in college, but I don't really want to learn anything new. Rescuing a Rottweiler described as having aggressiveness issues and needing a true alpha would be making a positive contribution, except that this whole dog thing is totally, completely irrational. Jessica stepped away from the Rottweiler on her laptop at the dining room table and she went to stand at the big window facing the street. She saw that it was beginning to snow a lot, which was encouraging because Jessica had lived in the Powder Keg long enough to know that meant that a thaw was coming. And she thought about going to yoga. She really did, because she figured Fit Barb wouldn't be there because of the snow, unless she could speed skate on the interstate or something, because she came from Richfield. But she didn't go to yoga. Instead, she went downstairs to the basement to look at her laundry. Not to do the laundry, just to look at it. And then she sat on it. It was something she did sometimes when the kids were at school and there was a big enough pile of laundry for sitting on. It made her feel like she was the queen of her domain, like she was a true alpha. She thought to herself, I'm the urinal, the turtle of this laundry pile. And then she laid down, and she stretched her back on the pile's natural curve, and then she raised her arms over her head, and then she let them fall back, and then this stretched out her chest and her abdominals, and then she thought about barbaric yaps, and those really hot college boys from that movie with Robin Williams, where they learned about the magic of poetry and not sitting at your desk all day. And so she attempted a barbaric yawp, and it started first as a low growl from her lower abdominals, and then it got louder and louder, and it turned into a gigantic scream, and this really surprised her. It wasn't quite a barbaric yawp. She knew that it was more the cry of a caged animal. But wow! Good core strength. Good breath control. Not too shabby for a housewife who's been skipping yoga. And then she fell asleep there for a little while. And then she woke up and folded some laundry. Not all of it, just some of it. And then she ate a banana. And then she sliced up some Velveeta in preparation for dinner. And then she took a pleasant, stress-free walk to the school bus stop because despite the blizzard that was now raging, all of the sidewalks in the Powder Keg were miraculously clean of snow. And when the kids got off the bus, she rustled them down in the snow and everyone was laughing and happy. And then they all sighed there, and then she turned to them and she said, "Hey, what do you guys think about getting a dog?"